Hi, this is World Cultures, Unit 6, and today we're going to talk about South America, the countries along the Atlantic coast. That leaves us with Argentina and Uruguay to start off with. And we can see down here the gauchos. They're similar to vaqueros, but they have a different set of traditions and culture that evolve differently. You can see that they normally have what are known as gaucho pants, kind of a big poofy pants that go into their boots. And Argentina also has a lot of Italian mixed in there with even some Italian words. So their Argentinian Spanish is slightly different. Unlike all the other countries we've talked about before, Argentina was not made independent by Simon Bolivar. Now, after many years of different dictators, you had what was known as juntas, Junta, which is a group of military leaders ruling the country at different times. They became a democracy, they became a dictatorship again, and then more recently they've become a democracy, although Argentina has always struggled with the government kind of taking too much power from the people. They fought a famous war with England, and more specifically the United Kingdom, Britain, over the Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands was colonized by Britain, and the majority of the people that live there are actually British, and they voted to keep allegiance to the United Kingdom. So when Argentina invaded and took over, the United Kingdom fought back, and they won the war, and the Falkland Islands remains underneath the United Kingdom today, even though Argentina from time to time still threatens and claims that it is theirs. Paraguay, on the other hand, is very different from these other two countries. Argentina and Uruguay have big open plains. They're both along the coast. But Paraguay is farther to the north. It is landlocked. Remember, like Bolivia, it does not have access to the ocean. And it's very poor. It has the largest population of Native Americans, and it also has a lot of rainforest in most of the country. The one thing that they do export is electricity because of all of the water and rivers. They've dammed it up and they export electricity, but the country is still feeling the effects of a major war in which it tried to fight Uruguay, Brazil, and Argentina, and it lost. And it wasn't very rich to begin with, and it hasn't been very rich at all since. Which leads us to Brazil. Brazil is the largest, most powerful country on the continent of South America, and it is the most like the U.S. It has many different industries, mining, farming, factories, lumber, etc. It is a federal republic like the United States with a fairly stable government that is becoming more and more democratic as time goes on, and it is relatively free. But there are some very important differences between Brazil and the rest of the continent, and between Brazil and the United States. And one of those is that 50% of Brazil lives in poverty, and some even live in extreme poverty. What you can see there is one of the slums, and these slums typically rise up into the valleys of the mountains around the major cities. So the rich live in the center of the city in the nicer areas along the coast, and then all going up into the valley, you can see there that the homes are just bricks piled up one on top of the other in no particular order. Sometimes families living 3, 4 stacked up stories tall, and they're full of gangs and crime and drugs, and they are a big problem in one of the parts of Brazil that the upcoming World Cup they're going to try to hide. You can see a girl there taking a bath with what's basically a pipe busted out of the wall. Most of the people speak Portuguese, unlike the rest of Latin America, with a few small exceptions that speak Spanish. Brazil speaks Portuguese because they were the large colony of Portugal. They are Christian. You can see the very famous statue of Jesus there in Rio de Janeiro. Very beautiful landscape there in Rio de Janeiro. And they also celebrate Carnival and have a very, very famous love of soccer. But their Carnival is different. Whereas other Carnival, it's a party. Here they have these massive parades that you can see there in the top right photo. They have stadium seating for. So it's not very long parade, but they air them on TV. People sit at home and watch them. People go to these parades all over the country, and they have all of these dancers and musicians and these floats, and they're very, very elaborate. They put a lot of money into it, and a lot of people are excited to be a part of it and to watch it. It's pretty incredible, the Carnival celebrations that they have. And it's important to look at Brazil as a very large mix, like the United States, of descendants from African slaves, Europeans, Native Americans, and more recent Asian immigrants. And this mixture has caused the Brazilian skin tones to meld. And so, whereas in other places there was very strict rules about who was allowed to marry who, and therefore you can kind of tell a person's ancestry, in Brazil it's very, very mixed. And they would actually distinguish a person's skin color day to day based upon the amount of tan that they'd had. So they never put as much emphasis on such a thing as black, white as we did here in America and in other parts of the world. And as you can see, most of the people live along the major coastal cities in the south because the Amazon River is to the north. And speaking of the Amazon River, it is the second longest river in the world, the Nile being the longest, and it is the widest, over a mile wide there at the mouth. It has freshwater dolphins. It has the famous piranhas. And this river is supported by the Amazon basin. And all of this flows out into the ocean and creates quite a bit of wealth and resources that we've talked about, where people cut down the trees or these are for farming. And of course you can see in the picture on the right some of the lovely fauna that they have there.